So, just checking in. I finished the half marathon a few hours ago. Got some lunch. Family's resting in the hotel room, and I am walking on the treadmill, trying to get some of the soreness worked out of my calves. I really enjoyed this race. Really enjoyed this experience, the venue, what this run represents, and let's talk about it. Let's get into it together. All right, let's talk about this race. The Oklahoma City Marathon / half marathon Run to Remember event is maybe one of my favorite running events that I've gotten to participate in throughout the years. I've done a lot of smaller races, 5Ks, sprints, that kind of thing, as well as several half marathons. But there's really something special about this experience. This was my first opportunity to get to partake in this particular event, as a participant, that is. And so if you are a runner who's looking for opportunities to add more races to your calendar and looking for unique events or events that are especially meaningful, then I would highly recommend that you at least consider this particular event. It's not just a race, a marathon, a half marathon, but if you go to the website, OKCMarathon.com, you'll see a breakdown of reminding you why this event exists. This is a Run to Remember event. And what this event represents was the bombing of the Murrah building in Oklahoma City on April 19th of 1995, where 168 people lost their lives and many others were injured. And so on an annual basis, there is a Run to remember those who lost their lives in that terrible tragedy. And it is one of the more moving events that I've participated in, as before the race begins, you observe 168 seconds of silence in honor of those 168 who lost their lives. And then we go off on the event. And it was a wonderful race. It really was. And I'll talk about my personal experience there here in just a minute. But I want to set the stage for you just a little bit and help you to understand that if you sign up to do this race, you are going to be in a massive sea of people. I've done several races that have had thousands of participants, full distance Ironmans, as well as some other half marathons that had 3,000-4,000 runners that were a part of it. I know there are much bigger events that are out there, but that's kind of the upper level of the participants that I have personally been a part of in the past. But this specific event that I participated in this last weekend had 22,000 runners that were a part of it. And there's just something really incredible to me about being out and sharing a course with that many people. Albeit you have to do a little more bobbing and weaving to make your way through the crowd in order to have the pace that you want to race, and to run your own race is a little bit more difficult. But it was a great event, and the race morning was just about as perfect as you could ever hope for. There were a lot of storms that came through the night before, and it was actually just a little bit misty, a little rainy. Early on in the morning, just a real light breeze, temperatures in the mid-60s Fahrenheit. It was a great condition to run. It was a cool race. It wasn't real hot, making it easy for you to overheat, to overcook yourself early on. And so I had a great experience there. The weather worked out great. And one thing I want to say about this race is that the city, Oklahoma City, really rallies around this event. It's incredible. You've all probably been a part of races that have felt really well supported, as well as those that maybe didn't feel so much. Well, there really wasn't a stretch of the road that there weren't people lining the streets, cheering for you, setting up additional aid stations, playing music along the side of the road. People who lived in the neighborhoods that the half marathon course went through, who would come and set out on their front lawns and cheer on complete strangers. There's even one part of the course that is known as Gorilla Hill, and it's a pretty steep hill, and it takes a while to get up to the top. And there had to have been at least 500 spectators lining both sides of that hill the entire way up, yelling and cheering for everybody, kind of helping you make that hill not feel quite as challenging as maybe it otherwise would if you were just on a training run by yourself. And so the city's support behind that race is absolutely fantastic. And something else that made this event special for me was that I got to run it with a buddy of mine. He's not a runner. He's not into triathlon. He hasn't done these types of events in the past. But I kind of strong-armed him a little bit and encouraged him, and he decided to sign up for it. And so we got to start that event together. And it wasn't really a competition, but I won. And so I think that's important to note. But we had a great time together. We ran side by side for about the first 8 miles or so, and then we separated just a little bit. So in a previous video, whenever I explained what my goals were for this race season, and I put this race on the calendar, I talked about my previous experiences and how I had one half marathon that I broke 2 hours, which for me as a non-runner, somebody who didn't begin running until I was about 30 years old, I was very proud of that, where I had hit a 1:59. And then my last half marathon that I ran, I didn't do very well by the standards that I had set for myself. And I think I ran a 2:12 was my time. I just wanted to beat that for this time. I knew I wasn't going to set a PR due to some injury and some illness that I've suffered throughout this training block. But in my view, as long as I came in under 210 or under that 212 mark, then that was enough for me to know that I was on the right path of getting some fitness back, and hoping that that's something that I can build on for the future and for the other events that I have planned for this upcoming race season. And so considering the obstacles that I had in my training, I think I nailed it for this race. I was able to pace it well. Now, I didn't set a record. I knew I wasn't going to, but I think considering the circumstances, I got the most out of myself on the day. And so my 2 goals that I had for this race was, one, finish at that 210 mark or below. And the second one was important for me, and it was that I wanted to finish stronger than I started. Now, I wanted to pace it well so that I wasn't running out of steam at the end of the race, but that I was still holding strong. And as I pull up and looking at my Strava, and look at this recording that I have here of it, you can see that I hit my time, 2:09:53. You can also see that I ran about a 1/10 of a mile more than what I should have for a half marathon. I really don't know why. I think I can attribute that to having to dodge so many people that were on the race course. So I did get below that 210, which was my first goal. And as I come down here and I look at my splits, you can see that I began with a 10:04, 10:19 pace. I wanted to go out pretty easy. And then by the time you get to my last several splits, you see a 9:58, 9:39, 9:41. And so I was proud of that. I was able to finish a little stronger than I started and hit my time goal, as well as being able to pace it well. And so I'm hoping that I can take that experience and that fitness that was gained from that training and that event, and that's something that I can build on as I move forward into my race season with a couple of sprint triathlons, as well as some cycling events that are on the calendar for me. And so that's my race recap of the Oklahoma City half marathon run to remember event. If you are looking for another race to put on your calendar, do this event, do this race. You won't regret it. You'll love spending some time in downtown Oklahoma City. A lot of great restaurants to eat there, wonderful atmosphere, a great race environment with 22,000 of your closest friends, and it'll be an experience that you will not soon forget. And so thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day and a great race season, and be sure to add this event to your calendar for next year. Talk to you soon.